Hey everyone on Instagram, hey everyone on Facebook. So I've been promising our members that I would start doing a frequently asked question Friday where the members could ask questions and I would answer them. So hey Instagram, Meal Mentor, hey Facebook. So I'm going to run through all of the questions that the members submitted this week, and if there's time, I'll take some live ones. I think there was a little bit of a technical thing, so if you're just tuning in, hey, what's up? All right, so let's go with some of the first questions that came in. Adrian asked about swapping out veggies due to your intolerances. For example, everyone knows that I'm allergic to cauliflower and broccoli. So if you are a member of Meal Mentor, there's an amazing substitution chart. There's just an incredible substitution chart. It's a PDF that you can download from your dashboard. So when you're logged into getmealplans.com, you'll see the substitution chart. It's kind of like down towards the bottom, and it's super helpful. And it's even if you're not allergic, but like you don't have cauliflower and you want to see if another vegetable you have on hand, like if you can make that instead, or if maybe you just don't like carrots, the substitution chart can really be helpful. And so, especially if you're not sort of familiar with cooking, you're still kind of new and unsure and aren't very confident in substitutions, like definitely check out that substitution chart. For me, I usually end up picking a vegetable that's either sort of similar in color or just one that I really like or other people like or I know kind of works. So for example, with broccoli, which I'm allergic to, I use green bell peppers because I find they kind of work well. I know a big food that a lot of people hate is sweet potatoes, and so carrots are a great alternative to sweet potatoes. Just things like that. But anyway, definitely check out the substitution chart, especially if you're a member. And on Happy Herbivore's blog about 2 weeks ago, I did a blog post called like the 5 most hated foods, and there's a bunch of substitutions in that post too. Let me see. I know you and your family were diagnosed with food intolerances. How did that go? So the way it went is I've known pretty much my whole life I was allergic to dairy. So, and I eat dairy and I get really sick. And so that was just something I always knew. For my allergy to broccoli and cauliflower, when I was a kid, I wouldn't eat it. And I don't think I understood why I wouldn't eat it. I just think it hurt my stomach, but I didn't know as a kid. And then when I got older and I started eating healthier, and I'd be like, oh, broccoli and cauliflower, it's so healthy. But every time I ate it, I would just like feel really bad and sick. And eventually my throat would start getting itchy and I would feel like itchiness like all up in my ears. And that's how I knew I just shouldn't eat it anymore. But with the rest of my family, we tried a bunch of things. We did expensive allergy testing, and I've now read research. It's really not helpful. If you think that you have a food sensitivity or an allergy, and it's not a true, really the only kind of true allergy is like anaphylaxis. Everything else is a sensitivity or an intolerance if you want to be technical. You're going to have to do an elimination diet. And I actually did an elimination diet, and I tracked my food and my husband's food for over a year using this like food safety app, and the app made it so I could see trends, and that was how we finally got down to like we can't have this or you can't have that, and sort of worked it out from there. And a couple of the other things that we don't eat is because of dietary recommendations, because of medical things that we all have that have nothing to do with our diet. We just, because those are who we are and human things happen to humans. So it's not the easiest answer and it takes a really long time, but if you're definitely struggling with not feeling so good and you're already eating a super clean diet, then that's definitely a really great way to go. Let's see. I would also like to know about your transformation from all you can eat portions, which is what, you know, a lot of people say, and it's not true. How you stopped your free-for-all, and was the transition difficult in the beginning? How long did it take for you to get used to eating different amounts of food? So I talk a lot about an appetite thermometer or an appestat, and the more technical science definition of this is neuroadaptation. And actually, I should probably do this on the Shortcut to Slim podcast. There's a couple of blog posts on getmealplans.com about this, and I'll link to it when I'm done here. Not on Instagram, sorry, there's no way to link to it, but the YouTube video and on Facebook I'll link it. So there's that. But basically for me, once I started portioning my meals, I started adapting. Like I would be like, oh, that's my portion and that's going to be satisfying. That was one of the great things about the freedom of the meal plans is I would be like, oh, that's how much food I need to eat. This is my portion. And so, I just got used to it. And initially I was kind of sad because I was eating a lot of volume. But I got used to it. And within a few days, it started to get better. And I would just, talk to myself and be like, it's okay. Like, it's not a free for all. You're satisfied. And I would often think about it. I'd be like, this was abundance. I wouldn't look at it as deprivation. I would look at it as abundance. And that's a really great tip if you're dealing with, like food allergies. Is like for us, the more foods that we couldn't have, it's very easy to focus and be like, oh, that's another thing. But I would just start listing all the things that we could still eat. And so it's a really great way to sort of do it that way. But it does take a while to adjust and for me, I was like, okay, I need to know what it is an appropriate amount of food for myself. And for seeing my actual caloric needs, like the true calorie needs when I was getting my body scans, and I remember thinking, that's so little food. But now I feel so freed to know like, oh, I just don't eat that much. I'm a Prius. We're all Priuses. And, I don't feel good when I overeat. I feel uncomfortable and bloated and my stomach hurts. And, so for me, it's just reminding myself, like, I want to eat like intuitively and proportionally, and I don't want to just keep eating. I was eating like 4 plates of food at every meal because I thought that's what I needed to do, and it's not true at all. Definitely check out the Shortcut to Slim podcast for more information there. What is a good substitute for nutritional yeast? There isn't one. I know it sucks. There's no substitute for nutritional yeast, but what I want to say is that brands taste different, and there are some gnarly brands and there are some good brands. So before you get rid of nutritional yeast totally, definitely go check out different brands of nutritional yeast. And if you still hate it, no big deal. Just try to like blend some cashews or maybe some tahini to do that flavor instead of nutritional yeast instead. Hi, I'd like to know how your husband does the plants. I know you mentioned he doesn't eat beans. My significant other is sensitive to some beans because of colitis. Does your husband supplement with more vegetables? This is a great question. So, for my husband, a lot of times we'll do edamame or tofu because those are safe for him. He actually can now eat white beans. They don't seem to bother him, and so white beans have started to come back in. For a really long time when there was like no beans and not even tofu, we were doing nuts or like almonds or cashews are always a good stand-in. And when those were also kind of bothering him, I did sorghum. Sorghum is a grain. It's kind of like a little ball. I don't know, I might have some. Woo, Mateus. So this is sorghum. I bought this, I think, on Amazon. For a long time, I would just cook up this sorghum. Hi, Mateus. And so for a really long time, sorghum was what my husband, I did in the cooked sorghum instead of beans or tofu in the meal plans for my husband just because he couldn't eat them. But then peas became okay, and he's been doing better. Or a lot of times I'll just ramp up the vegetables. My husband also really likes things like pasta or bread or crackers, and so sometimes I would do that to give him some more calories, which is another question people have been asking, like, my husband's hungry, this isn't enough food for him. Totally, because guys are bigger and they have higher calorie needs. And so one thing that works in our house is my husband will add like a potato or corn tortillas or bread or crackers or some avocado or hummus or any kinds of things on top just to make it a little bit more for him. And that works really great because he's, 6 feet tall and I'm 5'7", so of course we have, pretty different needs there. Let's see. Can you do a review of your favorite brands? The hot sauce video is so helpful. If you guys didn't see the hot sauce video, check it out. I'm happy to tell you guys my brands, but here's the thing. Where you live, the brands are going to be different. So unless you live within 5 miles of me, it's not the most helpful, but I can definitely maybe do a post of some brands that I really love that are maybe more mainstream, but it's also so personal. So like, for example, when I do my mustard video, I really want to do a mustard video. There's this Dijon mustard that I love, and Scott doesn't like it. My parents don't like it. My sister doesn't like it. Carly, who works here at Meal Mentor, she doesn't like it. But like everybody else likes this other one. So it can be helpful. Or like, almond bries. Like I love unsweetened almond bries and my parents don't. And my husband's kind of like, he could take it or leave it, but he likes soy milk. So it can be very hard to recommend brands, but I'll definitely think about that. And final question that came in from the members, Bobby asked, since willpower is ridiculous a lot of the time, and I'm not good at it, nobody is, don't feel bad, nobody's good at willpower. That's why it's so much better to practice like behavior modification or mindset. What do you do when you get those addictive food cravings for everything that's not healthy, fried, salty, crispy, and you fix on it? This is actually an entire episode. It's a 2-part episode of season 2 of Shortcut to Slim this season, so I don't want to say too much right now. But one of the kind of things that I'll say, and this comes from the Slim Team program, which is Meal Mentor's official weight loss program, is when you start to think about stuff like that, I say flip the deprivation. Think of the other side of it. And so an example I like to give is like, I can, think about, oh, I'm depriving myself, or I'm not having that second margarita and feel really sad and bummed out, like, I'm not having the margarita. Or I can take a hot minute to think, all right, what's the other side of that? Well, if I have that second margarita, I'm going to feel bad tomorrow. I'm not going to be 100% because I'm going to be hungover and my stomach's probably going to hurt. I'm going to feel bloated and gross and mad at myself. And so it's like you have to consider the other side. And when you think about the flip side of deprivation, and I say, like I said, this is a big episode in season 2, is there's depriving yourself of the thing, and then there's what you're depriving yourself of by having the thing. And so when I think about that, like when I am being tempted by, I don't know, Oreos or cookies or fried or French fries or something, I try to take a minute to think like, okay, I could have the French fries, or I could just deprive myself of feeling really awful, which is what I'm going to have if I eat them. So that's just something that's really worked well for me. So anyway, but thank you for joining me for my first FAQ Friday. Hi everyone on Instagram. I'm going to pop over to Facebook feed really quick just to see if there's any questions there. Someone said, what's wrong with nutritional yeast? Nothing's wrong with nutritional yeast. It's just some people don't like the flavor, and that's happened to me. It took me a long time to find brands that I like. What I can say is Red Star is a good brand. Our members really love Hoosier, H-O-O-Z-I-E-R, I think is the spelling. So Red Star I like. Trader Joe's brand I really like. Bragg's has a nutritional yeast. I really like them. Like I said, Hoosier is one that's popular on our Facebook group and our forums with our members, but there's a bunch of brands. What I do know is, I'm sorry, Whole Foods, yours is disgusting. It's so gross at Whole Foods. I don't like that one, but it's different for everyone. And so if you don't like nutritional yeast, it might just be the one you bought. So do try some other ones. And if you can't have it, like you just hate it or you're allergic, you can usually just blend some cashews really fine into almost like a powder, or even use like a dry hummus powder, or just make like a cashew cream to get that cheesy flavor. And tahini can work really well too if you can't have nutritional yeast, but there really isn't a substitute for the flavor, and it really does make things cheesy. Let me see. It's so hard. I have to like use my hair to be able to read the white font on Facebook. But I think that's pretty much all the questions, unless anyone else has one. Thank you guys so much for all the thumbs up and hearts and likes. You're the best. I love you. I will definitely do another cooking video, probably this weekend. I know there's some really awesome recipes I want to make for you. And I really appreciate all the feedback of everyone saying that they're so helpful. So with that, thanks for joining me for our first FAQ Friday. And I guess have a really amazing weekend, and we'll talk soon.